What is going on, everyone? Today we're going through my round 9 AFL tips and predictions, of course, as well, going through my round 8 tips. Now, this video is out on Wednesday because, obviously, if you guys haven't already known, I had to do my Frankston overnight punishment stream over the Monday to Tuesday. I just want to quickly say thank you for all the support. It was the best stream on the channel. And yeah, with all the promotion and all the people that got around it, I think we can even make the next few better. So I'm definitely keen on doing some more IRL streams. Let me know whereabouts. Maybe we can do them exploring some footy grounds or something like that. But yeah, wanted to get some sleep on the Tuesday. So this video is up on the Wednesday. But yeah, should be a good round of footy. I'm looking forward to it. Let's take a look at the tipping for round 8. And I finally scored a good score in 8 out of 9. It started off really well for me. Obviously, got the first game right in the Bombers. Margin wasn't too off as well. Then I went to St Kilda over Freo. That was a good tip to get. I just had to back in the Saints. I know most people would have probably gone Freo given the form that we were in, but it was an easy win. Freo were abhorrent. They were terrible. The Western Bulldogs easily counted for Port Adelaide. A bit too easy, I'd have to say. Adelaide also easily counted for Carlton. Melbourne beat the West Coast Eagles, and this is another really good tip to get correct because a lot of people were going for the Pies, but I went the Cats, and it was the game of the year so far, you have to say, which there'll be a video on the channel soon on the second channel if you want to look, link in description, where I go to the Ballarat game and this game. I got a good footage on that. We head to Sunday games, and unfortunately the first tip I got incorrect. I was on track for a perfect score. It was the Sydney v GWS game. And now, even funnier, right, if you saw my tips video last week, you would have seen at the end where I reviewed all the tips. And I actually said Sydney mistakenly. I accidentally clicked them. I realised on Sunday, changed it back. Ultimately cost me, unfortunately. I ended up getting that one wrong. Finished alright though with Hawthorn and Brisbane. So we got an 8 out of 9. I'm a little bit pissed off. I'm not going to lie. I could have easily got a 9, but I'm taking the 8 out of 9. Now let's just take a look at my tipping competition. We are now hit 1,660 members. So if you guys haven't already, join down below for shout outs and yeah, prizes as well. I don't know if I've revealed the prizes yet, but why don't we just make it a surprise? You know it's going to be something good. The halfway mark as well will get a prize, I think, after round 12. So let's just see the best scorers for round 8. And using the Joker, Gavi and Dons never win final, which is true. They both recorded a score of 8 using the Joker with the best scores there. Hawkman, 279. ESPN Fan, 674830. And Tyson Tegria and Wacko Jacko. Well, actually, we got a few people all with a margin of 7. Crazy Kramer and Manning J 23. Let's take a look at total scores now, and Owen 32 leads the way with a 69. He scored 8 in round 8. He's on top of the leaderboard. Brody is second with 67, so I think he overtook Brody right there. Noah S also with a 67. Tyson Tregear with a 66, and Joshua Coates. Now this is definitely going to change up a bit because obviously most of the people that are in the top 5 or whatever have used both the Jokers, so that would make sense. Let's take a look to see if anyone got a perfect round that didn't use the Joker, and we got a bunch. So let's have a look. So CJ with a perfect score margin of 1. He was the best tipper theoretically. Bo Kessels with a margin of 6. ESPN Fan with a margin of 7. Finbar Marley Colin with a margin of 11. Noah Rada, and then we got Blazing Toki, CJ Giant as well, all getting perfect scores. And quick little fantasy update as well. We have 465 in the comp, and I'm currently now 76. So I'm rising up a little bit. I got a 2247 last week, and Jacob at Does Footy is still on top, so he's getting weekly fantasy shoutouts as we speak. I always do my updates on my members, so if you guys want to check all this exclusive members content for fantasy, then you can. Last round I got 2247. If only I didn't vice captain Sherry and gave it to Gord instead. And if only I figured out that Walliver wasn't playing, I couldn't get a player on for him. So it could have been a better score, but I'll take it. I'm rising in the rankings, and I'm going okay in fantasy, hopefully continuing to do well. So it's been a bad start to the year when it comes to big calls, but this week I think I did a little bit better. So let's go review the big calls for the week and see how I went. First big call I got correct was in St Kilda v Freo. I correctly predicted that the Dockers would go goalless in any quarter. Not a bad one to get. They went goalless in the second and almost in the first. They kicked like 7 points till halftime. It was a crap game. Matchday vlog to that is out on the channel if you guys want to see it. Next up in West Coast v Melbourne, I figured Max Gorn was going to have another good one. I said for him to have 130 or more fantasy. And, I mean, I got it right, but I should have, honestly, I should have gone the unders there because he got a 158 with a fantasy. He's absolutely on fire. And I needed to get one more correct big call in the last game of the round, and I did in the Hawthorn v Richmond game. I said that in that game that the Hawks would win every quarter by 10 or more points. And as you can see on the screen, that is exactly what happened. So for the first time in a bit of time, I finally get to avoid a big call punishment. Obviously, as you can see right here, I've got a few that I still need to do. I'm kindly not really worrying about that yet. I'll find a time, probably more towards the middle to the end of the year, where I can just tick off a lot of these punishments that I still have to do. The punishment that I would have had to do was from Aussie Sports with 85 likes, saying go to an AFL game in an umpire uniform with a sign saying umps win again. I believe Jay Tomo did something similar to that on his channel not that long ago. Now, like in every week as well, if you guys want to submit your votes for round 8, your 3, 2, 1 votes that will go through at the end of the year, and doing a live stream for the Cardi medal, then leave them down below. The link is always in the description, the pinned comment. The more votes, the better. You get involved to have your say at the end of the round. And one more thing I want to quickly plug as well. This is just to do with my Team Coach box giveaway. It might be starting later than 6, but there will be a stream from either 6 to 7 today where I announce the winner for the box, plus a couple of other extra things on the stream as well. So stay tuned and good luck in the box giveaway. It's not too late to join as well. Links down below. Heading now to round 9, and we start things off on the Thursday at Optus Stadium between Fremantle and Collingwood. Now on the same day as well, if you guys haven't already been aware, AFL 26 is coming out this day as well. So I think what I'm going to do on the channel is I'll be streaming AFL 26 and this game will be on at the same time. So I'll be going through the game, talking about it whilst playing AFL 26. Only 16% are back in Freo here, despite them technically being favourites on the ESPN Footy Tips app. I kind of understand why they're heading to this one favourites. Collingwood have some outs heading to this one in Braden Maynard, Brody Mychek, De Goey, and Pendles, and they are travelling interstate to Optus. Always is hard to beat Freo at Optus, no matter where they are on the ladder normally. But I think despite all of these outs, Collingwood I'm still certainly going to be more leaning towards. I mean, they're a professional outfit at the end of the day, and the Dockers were that bad last week that I've got real concerns. Real concerns for their coach. I don't think J-Lo's the man, and that was, in my opinion, the worst loss I've seen Freo really pick up in around 6 years. They were absolutely smashed in the contest. They were minus 100 in disposals, minus 28 in clearances against St Kilda. That is terrible. And Sarong, you tag him and generally you win the game, and that's what St Kilda did correct. Collingwood as well over Geelong. That was probably the best game of the year so far. It was an arm wrestle. Collingwood got to around a 20-point advantage in the third, but Geelong slowly gained control. Collingwood had a few chances late. Obviously, Jack Crisp had that kick after the sign, couldn't get it through. A lot of people were complaining about the umpires. I think ultimately they did have a bit of a say, but Collingwood probably should have taken their chances. They kicked a few behinds. It's almost a blessing in disguise. The Pies haven't lost since opening round. They can probably address a few issues now with that loss. Sometimes when you win games when maybe you shouldn't have or whatever, you can gloss over the few things that you could, work on next week, and I think they will. I know Freo will respond back at home. They're normally much better at home anyway, but I am going to be tipping the Pies in this one. I'm going to go 11 points with my big call. I say there'll be 9 or more lead changes all game. Next up, we have on the Friday night, my Saints take on the Blues at the MCG as part of the annual Spuds game. How much am I looking forward to this one? It's going to be an absolute beauty, and in my opinion, could be game of the round, could be the round or the game that I think will be most exciting. Probably a 50-50 game, to be honest. I think this game is going to be a hard one to predict. The Saints, they are back at home for an MCG game, and people wondering why that's the case. Well, the Saints want to get these marquee games, more of them, which is, I think, what we deserve, and a game a year at the MCG. Like, you can't be complaining playing at the MCG more, so I like playing at the G, and I like the way we went about it against the Dockers. It was obviously a bit of a hard watch if you're a neutral. That first half kind of sucked, but we just controlled the footy, honestly. Had 100 more disposals, didn't let Freo get anything going up forward. Callum Wilkie was an absolute rock, and as before, we had 28 more clearances over Freo, which is just unbelievable. Cooper Sharman had an awesome game. Hugh Boxall had a really good debut. Jack McRae at around 38 disposal, whatever it was. So we definitely dominated that one against the Dockers. The Dockers were really bad, so we're not expecting the Blues to be as bad this week, but still, normally when the Saints get their first hands on the footy and when they do win the clearances and get it out the middle, they tend to win games. So if that's what we can do against the Blues, that'd be great. The Blues were poor because they did get smashed in that stat. They were minus 22 and inside 50s, and I expect them to have a good fighting contest against the Crows, given the Crows were in a bit of patchy form and the Blues won 3 in a row, but that wasn't the case. The defensive efforts were really bad. They took a couple of steps back, and yeah, look, I'm not going to lie. I'm not that worried against the Blues here. We tend to play pretty well. The Saints' form against Carlton has actually been quite impressive. And at the MCG, the Saints are a good running side. They can run through the wings. They can go wide. They can push the territory. I think this is a game where, honestly, the Saints can get the win. And I know I'm a Kilda fan, but of course I'm going to be backing us in. And I think this will be one of the games of the round, but I'm saying the Saints run away with it. A little bit similar to the Collingwood game last year. I'm going to say the Saints by 16. And Jack Higgins, my big call, he'll kick 4 or more goals. Next up on the Saturday Arvo, we got Melbourne taking on Hawthorn at the MCG. Now, if you guys want the chance to win some VIP double passes to this game, myself and the Punters Perks will be doing a giveaway on Instagram. It should be up by the time this video is out. So the post is there. Just follow us both on Instagram and have a look at the terms and conditions if you guys are interested. It's should be really good. I don't know if I'm going to this game because I might be busy on that day, but if I'm not, I'll sit in those seats. Should be really cool. But, it could be a decent game. 4% are going Melbourne, and for fair reason, but I think you've got to give Melbourne a little bit more of a chance. I know they have gotten 3 in a row now. They sort of have been easy, soft kill wins. You could say Hawthorn's last 2 wins as well, playing West Coast and Richmond. I mean, obviously, you're going to win those games at home as well. This is certainly a much tougher task now for the Hawks, even though I don't think Melbourne are obviously that good of a side. But I think that these are going to have a decent crack now against the Hawks, now that they've got a few wins under their belt. They've got a bit more confidence, and we've got to obviously shout out Max Gawn. He had one of the best ruckman performances you'll ever see, and Melbourne honestly be nothing without him. So yeah, if he can stand up in this game, they're a chance of winning because his last 3 games have been awesome. And if he can have another really good performance, maybe dominate Lloyd Meek potentially, you never know. I could see Melbourne possibly winning. Of course, Hawthorn beat Richmond. It wasn't the most impressive win, although they still won by 60 points. It took them a while to get going, but they're always the classier outfit. You could always tell they're going to win. The last 9 games between these 2 teams has either resulted in a Melbourne win or a draw. So have them a chance. This could actually be an underrated game of footy. I think Hawthorn are just going to be too solid. They shouldn't lose this to Melbourne. So I'm going to tip them by 13 points. But my big call is that the D's will be in front at any stage in the last quarter. Next up on the 4:15 p.m. time slot at Marvel, we've got Essendon taking on Sydney. Now, this one's another tricky game to predict, to be honest. On paper, you'd expect Sydney to be too strong in this game, despite it being away from home. But that's not always the case. And this year, obviously, Sydney haven't been at their best. They're sort of starting to find a little bit more form now. We'll talk about their win against the Giants. Was really impressive. They started with the first 5 goals of the game. Watch this one on stream against the Giants. And they always seem to find the answers and get their goals at the right time because the Giants kept coming. The Swans obviously have still a lot of injuries and they haven't got their best lineup, but they still did enough, and they were really good in the game. So I'm impressed with that win. It was probably their best win of the season, better than that North win, just because of the quality of opposition. They've got some confidence heading into this one against Essendon, who are also, it's weird because they're in good form, but it doesn't feel like they're in good form. They've won 4 of the last 5. And they're sitting at 4-3 because remember, they've got that 1 less game. They seem to play poorer against the lower sides though, but they're luckily escaping with these results. So I think the reason that they won that game, honestly, was Zach Merritt in that last quarter. If the tag was put on him, I think North would have won. That wasn't the case. If they escape the tag here again, they've got a really good chance. If James Jordan in this one gets a hold of Merritt and prevents him from having much of an impact, Sydney should win, and probably by a decent amount. But I actually genuinely reckon, because it's at Marvel, I'm leaning more towards the Bombers. This has very similar vibes to that game against the Giants last year as well. The Dons start seasons well. They just can't finish. So I'm actually going to be tipping Essendon in this game in a really good one by 9 points. And it's going to be the star of the show once again, Zach Merritt. Massive game for him. He'll have 35 or more disposals. Next up, heading to the Saturday night game, we've got Gold Coast and the Western Bulldogs at Teo Stadium in Darwin. Another really good game that I'll be looking forward to. Not sure if I'll be streaming that game or the showdown. Might not stream that night. Might be busy. Might be able to stream. We'll see. But if so, I'll certainly be probably doing this game because I think it's going to be a really good one. The Dogs right now, I think they're the form team in the comp. A lot of people are really bullish on the Dogs, think they could maybe go all the way winning the flag, which I could almost see. They just need to make top 4. So keep banking the wins for the Dogs. They're currently 6th on the ladder with a really healthy percentage, and they're beating some decent sides as well. They haven't really gotten many soft kill wins. Obviously, the midfield is just really good right now. It goes so deep. You've got Treloar back on the side. Libba's been in some amazing form all year, and Bontempelli is just back to his best after the injury. And Tim English as well. I think he had like 17 score involvements and kicked 3 goals. He was phenomenal. He's back to his best as well. But still, at 90 points, it was really, really impressive. Not so much, though, for the Suns. We had a bit of hope for the Suns that they were going to finally take the next step in this Q Clash, and they didn't. They failed their Q Clash test and ultimately got flattened on the scoreboard. It should not have been a 17-point margin. Absolutely smashed in the middle. They could get nothing going up forward. They kicked 4 goals until halfway through the last, I think. And I expect them to bounce back. I definitely expect them to bounce back. We all know the Suns are really good in Darwin. They are so used to those conditions that are humid up there. The Dogs have played in Darwin before and have been competitive. But this is one where I feel like after, so different conditions from the Dogs, they go from bloody playing in Mars, the cold, windy conditions that I was there for, to the hot, humid, probably sticky conditions in Darwin. I think this is going to be one of those games where they sort of drop. They have a bit of a poor game and the Suns get a good win. But I think it could still be a good game of footy. I'm not too sure. Hopefully it's quite competitive, but I just think the Suns run away with it and win by 21. I'm going to go that the Dogs to score 4 or less goals in any half. Next up at the Adelaide Oval at 8:10 p.m, we have Port Adelaide and Adelaide for the showdown. The first showdown of the year. And hopefully a good contest, because obviously after last week, the two teams were in some two different spots in terms of form. And I feel like this is either going to be a smashing towards the Crows, or because the home game for Port, a close Port win. Because Port Adelaide, they've been really bad interstate, especially in Melbourne and Victoria, but they've been decent at home. They've basically won most of their games they played, apart from the game they played against this side right here. But yeah, like last week I was there for Ballarat. They were shit ass once again. Like in Ballarat, they just can't play there. They certainly felt like they gave up as well. They honestly should have taken more of the Mars bars I was giving out to them pre-game, and I think they considered the last 10 goals of the game. So it was an embarrassing performance, and it just puts Port Adelaide really in no man's land now if they're going to continuously dish up games like that. They're just not good enough, and they can't stand up when it matters against the good side. So if they're losing to Collingwood and Bulldogs away by 90 plus, you put a line through their chance of doing anything in this season, unfortunately. But the Crows, I think, are going to be a good side this year, and they embarrassed the Blues on the weekend by 10 goals. It was a full 4-quarter performance from the Crows. They were really good. Thilthorpe did play, and he had a good game of footy. Jordan Dawson was really good as well. And I just see the Crows, they're just a more well-drilled side. I think they've honestly got a better coach as well, and they have more quality that they can put on display. Now, I know Port Adelaide will have the home fans in this one, and you would think surely back at home they make things good for a good showdown. But I'm going against that. I think it's, I said before, it's Port Adelaide close win or an Adelaide smashing, and I'm going an Adelaide smashing. They win by 41 in a shit showdown, and they kick 6 consecutive goals in each stage of the game. All right, let's head to the Sunday games, and they're not as good as some of the other games this round, but the first one's Richmond v West Coast. It's the spoon battle here. Certainly a game that I don't think will be receiving too much attention, but if the Tigers, if they win this game, they definitely avoid winning the wooden spoon, because they'd be with 3 wins, and I mean, no one really expect them to win any game. So the fact that they're already in this spot right now is very impressive. That they're favourites for this goes to show West Coast's position right now and where they're at. They're in a bad spot right now. We all know that. Now, West Coast, this is also a significant game for them as well, because they have an opportunity to finally get their first win. They had an opportunity last week against the D's. They didn't get the win, but I didn't think they were that bad from looking at the stats. So you can make the argument that if it wasn't for Max Gawn playing, maybe West Coast would have won. I can't really make that because I didn't watch the game, but I saw in the third quarter they conceded 7 goals to 2, and that's probably the reason they lost. I mean, they hang in there for other 3 quarters. The clearance count wasn't great either, 26 to 49. So they clearly just don't have the depth. They don't have the quality. They don't have the leadership. They just don't have a lot of things going for them. Richmond got an expected loss against Hawthorn. We all thought they were going to lose that game. 10 goals. You know, they hang in there for bits and pieces. They were sort of competitive. Could have been worse against Hawthorn if they really wanted to win by more, which they didn't. So, yeah, look, West Coast, I don't see them getting a win here, to be honest. I thought this would have been a definite win for them maybe last year, but we thought maybe this would have been a chance for Richmond's first win. It's the other way around. The Eagles haven't won a game at the MCG for 4 years, and that was against the Hawks. So, yeah, I think the Tigers, I think they can get a good win here. Their youngsters will shine, and I'm honestly thinking that they could win by a fair amount if they play their game and West Coast just don't really show up away. So my guess is 30 points. I'm going to go Richmond by 30. And I'm actually going to say Richmond win every quarter is my big call on West Coast. I don't know how many quarters they've won this year, but it could not be any more than like a handful. Alrighty, next up on the Sunday. I think this is the best game on the Sunday, and this has the potential of being a really good game. We've got Geelong and the GWS Giants at GMHBA Stadium. The issue with the Giants right now, that I just can't really trust them. They've lost their last 3, and they're borderline staying in the 8 right now. I thought they were premiership contenders 3 weeks ago. Now I think they're sort of premiership pretenders in a way. Like, I feel like they haven't been like awfully bad. It's just been sort of patches of games. So we're looking at the Bulldogs game. That third quarter lost them the game. The Sydney game, that first quarter lost them the game. They conceded 5 goals. So they've had patches of games where they've been really poor, and that's what's cost them. So if they can hang in there, they did hang in there against the Swans actually. They didn't stop trying, but it just was a bit too much to come back from. The Swans were really good. If they can just be a bit more consistent for 4 quarters against the Cats here, I can see them winning. The Cats though, it's hard to beat at GMHBA. I mean, I think that's the hardest road trip in footy. They got a huge win against the Pies. I know there was a bit of controversy in that win, but ultimately they just stood up tall in the moments that mattered. Smith, once again, he could almost be Brownlow contention. I can't lie. Dangerfield has been absolutely brilliant this year for them. He had a massive second half. And yeah, they dominated that last quarter. They got to like a 16-point lead at some stage, I think it was. Almost lost that, but a big win Gives them a lot of confidence. They've moved to 7th on the ladder. They're back at GMHBA now for the first time since round 1, where they won that game by over 90. So I just think like they'll probably be too good in this game, I would feel. The Giants definitely could pip them, because in fairness, their last 3 games at GMHBA have all been wins. So the Giants are in some... They've got good form at GMHBA. It's just the Cats... I think they're just going to be too good of a side. This is sort of the time of the year where the Cats start to get going, and I'm going to be safe and just tip the Cats here. I think they'll finally break that streak of losses against the Giants at home, and I'll say they'll win by 22 points with my big call. The Giants score 9 or less goals. And we finish things off with North Melbourne take on Brisbane, probably the shittest game of the round in Hobart, and I'm bloody travelling for it. Of all games, I am travelling to this one, but it's not because I think this is going to be a belter, because it probably won't be. It's because I am trying to attend every stadium in the country this year, and just through timing and pure chance and luck, this so happens to be the game I'm going to. So let's just hope North put up an effort, really. I want to see a decent game of footy. Now, the Roos cannot lie. They probably should have beaten the Dons on the weekend. They obviously started poorly, but ever since, they sort of got back and got their game going, especially in that third. They made Essendon panic at times, but that last quarter, it was a mistake to not tag Zach Merritt. If they tagged Zach Merritt, they would have won the game. They didn't. I've said earlier that poor starts are concerned. They haven't won a first quarter all year. They haven't even been close. Like, every first quarter seems to be like a 3 or 4 goal margin, and it's chasing tails. Like, I know kangaroos have long tails. They're chasing the length of their tail every goddamn game. It's really disappointing, and if that happens again in this game, you may as well just write the game off at quarter time. Brisbane were the mature side against the Suns, and I expect them to win a game like that, and they did. They honestly should have won by more. It was only 17 points at the end, but it's a win, I guess. It's, you know, they didn't score a goal in the last quarter, but if it didn't feel like the margin should have been 17, it felt like a 40-point win. That's how much better they were. The Ashcroft brothers were really good in that game as well. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to end the tip with a pretty obvious one. The Lions just should be way too good and skill for North. I think the Kangaroos can put up a good fight in Tassie, like they seem to do. Like, I feel like they're a decent side when it comes to Tassie. They're competitive, but the Lions will still win, I reckon. So we'll go the Lions by 38 points, and we're going to go North to score 80 or more points as my big call. And just like that, those are my round 9 footy tips. So let's go through them real quick. We went the Pies, the Saints, the Hawks, the Bombers, the Suns, the Crows, the Tigers, the Cats, and the Lions. Drop your tips down below, and of course your big calls as well. And make sure you to enter that giveaway. You've still got a chance on the YouTube short. Just look for the Team Coach Box Break giveaway, as we'll see you very soon for some more content. Tomorrow's AFL 26, so that should be fun.